I'm going to introduce a couple individuals who are royalty, and you may not even realize it. Lord Shad Boucher, he's one
Yeah.
of our managing brokers here at Remax Alliance Group, and the Greek god Steve Zaris. So we are in great company today, and we have a lot of cool information to share with you. So today our topic is going to be seasonal surge on how snowbirds fuel our local market. So we have 15 offices along Southwest Florida, and a lot. Hello, and welcome to Brokers Uncensored. This is raw and real footage that the brokers of Remax Alliance Group are going to be sharing with you today. I'm going to introduce a couple individuals who are royalty, and you may not even realize it. Lord Shad Boucher, he's one
Yeah.
of our managing brokers here at Remax Alliance Group, and the Greek god Steve Zaris. So we are in great company today, and we have a lot of cool information to share with you. So today our topic is going to be seasonal surge on how snowbirds fuel our local market. So we have 15 offices along Southwest Florida, and a lot of our offices tend to get a little bit more busier during our seasonal time, which tend to run around October-ish into April. Kind of slows down around the holidays, but really picks up into January. But I'm sure you guys have all been seeing the car haulers heading into town and the traffic picking up a little bit. So,
Yeah.
uh,
A lot less Canadians this year, though. That's actually the
Yes, yes.
shocking part.
yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's dive right on in. So let's talk about how does the influx of snowbirds affect our housing demand and rental prices and inventory in our local markets? Who wants to
Hmm.
start?
There's a lot in that question.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
is. A little loaded. It's a little loaded.
Yeah. Well, you want to go first, Chad, or you want me to go?
Sure.
I'll
Well,
take.
I think it's most real estate, everybody talks about the summer, the spring and the summer selling season. Like, oh my God, everything's going crazy because, you're out of school, you have to move the kids, all this other stuff. We have two of those seasons really in most of our business areas. So we sprint through the summer, through August, we slow down in September, end of October, things start to pick up because people start moving down and then they decide that, they don't want to rent here anymore. They want to live here permanently. So they start doing all that. And we're not like the rest of the country too. And I can't speak for all 50 states, but we have, 55 and up only communities. And those communities, most people, they're very quiet. And so they come down and usually most of them at their last season that they want to be here, then they put that house on the market. So we have a big influx that happens. In fact, the place where I live, actually, the population almost doubles in the final, November through about May. So yeah, and a couple of things you learn, right? And you guys tell me if you're not, you don't go out to dinner, at that time of the year. You tend not to you tend to avoid things because they're just packed. Like
Mm-hmm,
it's kind of like theme parks, right?
for sure.
Well, also, I think we are in a slowly changing market here. I remember when I first moved to Florida back in 1990, it was like a deserted town on the roads in the summertime. It's not like that now. We've got more and more industry moving here,
Yeah.
full-time workers, apartments are going up everywhere. So our seasonal population, let's say residents that come down during the winter months, whatever the percentage was back then, I don't have those numbers. It seems like that percentage has gotten smaller because we have a lot more full-time residents here in Florida. And let's face it, we've got a lot of good things happening. We've got one of the best governors in the country. We got it's just a great place to live. However, pricing is starting to go up.
Hmm.
They're paying for
Massively.
it now. And you get somebody up north, they're paying, let's say, $15,000 a year in taxes. They come down here and they say, hey, 5,000, all right, that's nothing. That's pocket change. Whereas if we, look at that from a person who's lived here for a long time, they're
Right.
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm not paying that. That's too much money.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Okay,
I
well,
don't disagree.
yeah, that kind of segues us into the next question. How does the snowbird market make real estate more competitive for our year-round locals? So this is kind of a two-part question. And do you see there's certain property types that snowbirds tend to favor more than others?
All right, I'll go first on that one, Shad, and I'll let you pick up the
Sure.
pieces here. Uh, Primarily, they do like condos and villas,
Yeah.
not townhouses, but condos and villas. And I'm seeing more of them wanting single family homes because they're coming
Hmm.
from large houses up north, and they're realizing they cannot fit in a two-bedroom condo. So I'm starting to see that, and I think that the competitive pricing, the buyer set the prices no matter what. I think there's a lot of things that go into the pricing, including economic issues, interest rates, even though they might be cash buyers, but if the interest rates are lower, then their portfolio is higher, so they can, buy a property a little bit larger or nicer location with their cash. So there's a lot of factors that come into that, and it's a tough one to pinpoint one or two issues in their criteria that really stand out because there's too many factors.
Right. Okay.
Well, and I think, as far as picking up the pieces on that, I think that it's changed over time for sure.
Yeah.
It used to be kind of like what Steve was talking about. A lot of them just wanted to rent land with electric to park their big old motorhome. And they would
Hmm.
stay in that motorhome for several months and then go back up north. Then all of a sudden they started buying manufactured homes and big manufactured home communities popped up. And now those seem to be getting sold off and they're going, after the condos and the villas. And then now it's kind of like Steve was saying, it's gone up to single family homes
Hmm.
because they'll go ahead and get a lawn service for the rest of the year that they're not here or whatever. And where it does put strain, I think, on the market is they're now buying those single family homes, but they tend to be the lower priced ones, the more that we would think of as entry level and starter homes. And they have a much better ability to compete because they're cash. They're cash buyers in a lot of functions. They're going to get a small mortgage and they're mostly cash. So they've just got the ability to kind of come in and swoop things up. And they're also the other thing about them is too is they don't have to buy where there's a center of industry to support jobs and things like that because they
That's
don't
right.
need the money. So they can come into an area and say, okay, well, I'm gonna move to Parrish, Florida, where there's nothing in Parrish. And now all of a sudden the prices in Parrish start getting pushed up because these guys are moving there. And I think they put a lot of strain on the industry as a whole, but there's also a lot of boom to it. The restaurant industry booms during the
That's
snowbird
right.
Hmm.
season,
Yeah.
and the bars and entertainment spaces, and the fact that they're now buying these homes and living year round means they're hiring, lawn crews and things like that are much busier than they were. So there's both ups and downs, but I think when it comes to the housing, seeing them moving into the single family realm was surprising, but it's now becoming incredibly common,
Hmm.
like
Yes. And
incredibly common.
we were in New Jersey a few weeks ago, and there's just a basic three-bedroom, two-bath house. Nothing special. Was 750,000 on a
Yep.
small lot. And they could sell that house, come down here, use half of that money, and
Hmm.
buy a house or condo and still have half of it left. They may have a mortgage on that property up north. I don't know, but a lot of them have worked their whole lives and they've paid that house off. So they come down here with a lot of purchasing power.
Hmm.
Right. A ton of purchasing power and a ton of negotiation power
Yeah.
because they don't, and a lot of them, let's be honest, a lot of snowbirds that I'm noticing are actually even going to brand new builder communities.
Yes.
And because the builders are offering incentives like you wouldn't believe. So they're walking into DR Horton, like you said, Steve, they're giving, they're spending half their nut that they made from New Jersey. They're walking in for 350K cash only. We're done and we're out.
Yeah.
And they've got a brand new house that's going to be basically, work free. They don't have to worry about upkeep for at least 15 years. And so they're good, you
Hmm.
know?
Are you guys also seeing it like experiencing like these snowbirds who only come down for, certain months out of the year where they're obviously using it as an investment where they're turning it into an Airbnb or
Hmm.
VRBOs to kind of pay for the home to pay for itself prior to them moving down to make it a permanent residence. You guys seeing a lot of that in your area as
Uh,
well?
I'm not seeing much in my area, and also a lot of the condo developments do not allow it. So single family homes depends on where they buy it, and
Right.
there is a lot of competition in my area. So
Hmm.
I'm not really seeing that.
So
Okay.
I
Maybe on the
live
island you'll
I
see that
I
more.
live in Zephyr Hills, which was a long time considered like the snowbird capital of
Mm.
like Pasco County. And we do double. We usually go from like 11,000 residents permanent. That's what it used to be. It's a little more now, but 11,000 residents permanent to almost 24,000 residents in during snowbird season. And we used to call it Little Canada because you'd see more Canadian license plates, But now, kind of what Becky said, these guys are coming down here and they're instead of they're taking their money out of the stock market and they're buying 3 and 4 homes and they're renting those homes to their friends during the snowbird season and then Airbnb-ing them. You know, the funny part about Zephyr Hills, which I didn't even know living there as long as I did till very recently, it's the skydiving capital of the world.
Oh,
So
I didn't
apparently
know
people
that.
come from all over the world to skydive in Zephyr Hills. I
Interesting.
don't I
Well, I
don't
will not
know.
be coming there to skydive.
Well, I got you. I got you. But so there's, you would say, well, Zephyr Hills is landlocked. It's,
Yeah.
but it's 45 minutes from Orlando. It's 45 minutes from South Tampa.
Mhm.
So it's fairly central. And so now they're buying because we have a lot of little ranch homes that are in the interior of Zephyr Hills, and they're buying one for themselves, and in some instances, 2 and 3 of them down the same street, and then they're putting their friends into it, and then, and so it is kind of funny what you were talking about, Steve. Is we're seeing the reverse in Zephyr Hills. We're seeing it be packed with human beings from about November to May, and then it's
Mhm.
like a ghost town
Well,
in
Mhm.
let me
some.
ask you this, because the barrier islands, yes, people are buying those properties and
Yep.
using them for Airbnb because of them being on the barrier island. But we would do little reports for these folks and letting them know what their potential return on investment would be
Hmm.
as a short-term rental. And as you know, I used to have a short-term rental and I watched the market change over a couple of years, so I got out. There's only so many people that are actually renting, and you wind up with the correct word would be saturation
Right.
in the market. So how is Zephyr Hills looking as far as saturation?
Well, it's starting to get saturated, but initially it was not
Mhm.
because it was like a quiet, sleepy little secret.
Yes.
And it's interesting because I want to get video of it. The other day I was in the downtown area, visiting a friend of mine who has a business down there, and I happened to drive down one of the side streets, and all the lots in Zephyr Hills are very thin, but they
Hmm.
go from street to street. So the
Yes.
lot is very thin, but it goes so because a lot of the garages used to be on the backside,
Yes. Yeah.
and the front of the house would be set back up on the road. So the lots are very long and thin. So somebody recently bought one of those little ranch homes, those little 1,200 square foot ranch homes, demoed it, and put 3 tiny homes
Hmm.
on the property. So I'm very
Interesting.
interested to see what that looks like, and is that going to be a trend in there? And so, that's one of those things that I think is, and don't get me wrong, we have some massive manufactured home communities in Zephyr Hills. I mean, one of them is the size of a subdivision. I mean, it's just
They're
huge.
large. There's some large ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
thousand manufactured homes in them.
And they're so
So
close together too.
they are.
Mhm.
They're very close together, and then people like it. They like having their friends to come over and do stuff with, and 55 plus and all that stuff. We probably have 12 of them in
Yeah.
Zephyr
Well, they have a
Hills.
lot of entertainment and, functions and that kind of thing that
Correct.
keep them active. And
But
yeah.
it's amazing to me, and I think possibly the frequency of storms we've been hit with in the recent years has also caused them to start branching out into the single family properties because
Mhm.
they're all concrete, single story, and they've been standing there since '68. So odds of them getting nailed is very low. So it's interesting, but Zephyr Hills all of a sudden seems to be like the place to be, which makes sense because previous to that it was Wesley Chapel, which bumps right up into Zephyr Hills, and Wesley Chapel's now become massively saturated
Mhm.
with, everything.
Yes.
I mean, all that stuff. So it's gonna come into Zephyr Hills soon. Um, when I look at it, when I moved there 23 years ago, there was only one subdivision, which I lived in. The rest of it were all small neighborhoods and things like that. Now there's 12 subdivisions. And so it's going kaboom for sure. But the rentals, it's interesting. They're doing away, well, the ground is too expensive up there now to allow a lot of these parks to exist unless they're monstrous. So the
Mhm.
smaller parks are getting sold off. So a lot of those residents are starting to purchase those little tiny ranch houses. And but like I said, then the downtown becomes a ghost town
Right.
from May to November.
Yeah. Usually like
Hmm.
downtown in our when I go to our Marco office, usually summertime is, obviously slower. It does look like a ghost town. I mean, there's certain people that come down to Marco Island for the summer, but during season, First of all, getting down there, the traffic is ridiculous. And then the streets are just lined with people with their beach chairs and floaties and riding their bikes and jogging and kind of thing. So it is kind of a cool thing, but there's, that's a very seasonal area, and most areas like that, that's kind of that's their lifeline, is during the
Right.
season time with the restaurants and the bars and the entertainment and things like that, the hotels down there. That's when their busiest times are. And that's kind of, that's their lifeline for sure. All right, let's move on to the next one. Do you feel that snowbirds, so to speak, would have a different buying habits than a year-round resident? And if so, what do those look like?
Cash. That's the buying habit. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's really, to tell you the truth, they come down, they purchase cash, and it's very, I mean, there's no state tax in Florida. Yes, and in a lot of places where they divest themselves, like he was talking about New Jersey, Steve was talking about, Boston, places like that, we're cheap.
Yeah.
We're still cheap. The legacy people that have lived here all their lives are like, oh my God, we're so expensive, but we're cheap.
Yeah.
And they come down and they go and it was tougher before the inception of Uber and things like that, but now
Mm-hmm.
they've got cash to burn.
Yeah. And I think the
And
proof of that was like during, the pandemic and that kind of thing. I mean, people were coming down to Florida and they were paying $100,000 more than asking price. And we were in bidding
Mhm.
wars and, $20,000. That's, and those are the people who lived in their home for 30 years. And they were like, I have to get out of here. If I have to sit in a house and look at these same four walls, I want to be able to enjoy it. And I mean, pool homes, the
Well,
reality is if you had a pool home on the market, it was gone in like a
well,
second.
let's be
Yes.
honest. I think COVID tore the mask off
Yeah.
of the fact that we all owned homes.
Hmm.
We didn't live in them.
True.
We
Yeah.
came home, had dinner, went to sleep, putted around on the weekends,
Yep.
but we had the option to go somewhere else.
Hmm.
And then when you were in your house for even 2 weeks
You
and you
discovered everything you hated about it.
correct, and
Yeah.
and you discover and you're like, okay, well, if this could happen again,
Hmm.
I need to make sure that this is a place that I don't have to go off the property. So I want more than more than just a small lot. I want land. I want,
Hmm.
and so they all started coming and like you said, we were cheap to them.
Hmm. For sure.
Even what I said, about my house, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm paying this for my house. They thought, oh my God, I can't believe I'm paying this for my house the other direction.
Right.
So
If I could add to this topic as well, they're also looking for a bargain.
yeah,
So
Hmm.
they're cash buyers, but they're looking for a bargain.
they are.
I think for two primary reasons. Number one, they want to hold on to as much money as possible because I always say nobody loves my money more than me.
Right.
The other
Yeah.
issue is, they're, they're paying cash, so they're in their minds, they're like, "Hey, I'm paying cash, so I want a better deal.
Right.
I can close fast, no
Hmm.
hassles, no appraisals. Let's work out a deal."
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, move on a little bit into the agent's perspective of things. What advice would you give to one of your agents on how to prepare for a season differently than they would um, during normal time of year? Do you have any
Move your
special?
marketing. Your marketing should be all around where those people are coming from. Your marketing needs to go into Boston. And I mean, the funny thing is everybody talks about, New York, Boston, all that. I run into more people from Ohio
Oh, a ton.
than I
There's a
would.
whole
I
group
don't,
down
I
here that
don't
watch
know.
football on
Right. I
their.
don't know how there are people in
Mhm.
Ohio left
I don't.
because every
Yeah.
time like, oh, are you native? No, we're from Ohio.
Hmm.
No, we're from. And let's be honest, transparency. I grew up in Ohio,
Yeah.
so it's. But look at where they're coming from. Grab the census. Look at where people are immigrating to Florida from, and move your marketing.
Yep.
If that's if you're not doing that in the second half of the year,
Hmm.
like around September, August, and you're not marketing up north where people are coming from, what are you doing?
Yeah, we have the Punta Gorda Airport here locally in Charlotte County, and obviously they're flying from all of those places in straight into Punta Gorda. And I've had some of my agents previously advertise in their in-flight magazines or in the airport because you want to hit them the minute they hit the ground, so, or they're sitting in the flight. So, I mean, that's a great place to advertise as well.
Mhm.
I think it was costly, but I think it was pretty effective of just getting their name out there and just,
Sure.
advertising and hitting them, like I said, once they hit the ground.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and most people don't realize, like now, like this is one of those things that I think agents don't realize now is you can go to somebody like Roku, okay, who has like every TV now comes with a Roku box in it that you buy, okay, for streaming services,
Mhm.
right? Most of the people, even if they access Netflix or they access whatever, they're doing it through a Roku box, okay? Roku will let you advertise on these TVs like a commercial for $500 a month. And there's nothing wrong with doing it in Ohio. It
Right.
doesn't say you have to do it in Florida.
Mhm.
So you can be hitting these people while they're watching TV. You can go to YouTube. YouTube will let you advertise on YouTube for fairly cheap. And now, how often do people spend on YouTube every day watching cat videos or, so yeah, I mean, you
Hopefully
hit
they're
them.
watching Brokers Uncensored on YouTube.
Well,
Yes.
well, hey, I was going to tell you guys, not that I want to out us to everybody watching this right now, but we actually have subscribers. Yeehaw.
Woohoo!
Yeah, yeehaw.
Good.
So
Going viral.
Fantastic.
yeah, so this is no longer just us, not trying to avoid therapy bills, but yeah, this is kind of, but yeah, that's the whole thing. Like the reach is amazing now, and hit them where they're coming from.
Yeah.
You know?
And if I could add, first of all, I hope a lot of consumers are subscribing to us because it's good for them to know what's going on in a
Mhm.
realtor's head and
Yep.
what's going on in the market. I think this is a great place to get information, And the other thing, if I could piggyback on what you were saying earlier about agents, I tell my agents they need to do everything all the time.
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Everything all the time. Don't. And one of the hardest things for them to do is to market themselves when they're very busy.
Hmm.
But I'm always passing out cards. It never ends, and you just got to keep doing it.
Mhm.
And the business will come. And if you get too busy, you can hire an agent. You can give it away as a referral.
Mhm.
Right. 100%.
Consistency is key with everything. All right. Well, I have a little fun segment for the end of this, but before
Oh.
we end, in closing, what advice or tips would you give to someone considering moving to Florida and being a snowbird?
All right, I'll go first. Do your
Hmm.
research. Do your research. Understand exactly where the pros and the cons are because there are lots of pros, there are a few cons, but those cons can be, life changing. Like
Mhm.
homeowners insurance in Florida is not $300 a year. Okay, so understand how that's going to hit your budget. Understand that yes, you're living here as a snowbird, you're not going to be here during hurricane season, so you need to harden your house before you leave. Okay. Or you're going to have to fly down to do it if we're getting hit by a storm. So do your research and understand what it is to live here because paradise is not cheap and it's a great place to be. It's one of the greatest states in the 50 states. I love it. I don't ever plan on leaving, but it is different. It's different you're going to wake up in the morning and there's an alligator in your front yard. What do I do? So do your research. That's the biggest thing. Do your research. And let's go ahead and just do a shameless plug. Get a great agent to help you because
Yes,
Yes.
you half the time don't even know the questions to ask.
Hmm.
correct.
And I would say, I mean, at some point we are going to retire and wind up maybe in northern Georgia, somewhere around there,
Okay.
because we want the seasons when we retire. Right now, we're here in Florida and we're going to stay here for a while and continue having fun and working. But one of the things that we've been doing is getting to know different areas. So
Hmm.
you physically need to go and get to know those areas. I've
Yep.
heard horror story after horror story of people that came down here and then they realized they didn't like the
Mhm.
area. And the reason is because they went on what one of their friends said, or they heard
Yes.
about it, or they came here once on vacation and
Mhm.
it was 20 years ago, so they assumed it was going to be the same. So
Yep.
you have to visit these
Yeah.
locations and spend the time, whether you do it in an RV or a hotel or, couch surfing through friends' houses, however you want to do it,
Mhm.
you need to do it.
Well, and, I,
Great
and,
advice.
and I'm just going to piggyback a little bit on that, Steve, is you're right. Florida is not just one ecosystem.
No.
Mhm.
Everybody looks at the beach,
Yes.
right? But the beach is not Miami. Miami is not St. Augustine. Parrish, going up to the
Or
Panhandle
Hudson, for
or
that matter.
Hudson, right? The Panhandle.
Yeah.
All of these places are all different ecosystem. I mean, you want to be you're a guy from the Midwest. Well, go to Ocala. They have
Hmm.
forests and I mean, all that stuff is up there. Horse country and there's so many ecosystems in Florida that if you don't go and figure it
Yeah.
out, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, we might get in trouble for this, but I ain't moving to Orlando in
Mhm.
history of ever. Okay,
It's the
because it's
happiest place on earth.
I
not to
thought the
live there.
villages were. I
Yeah,
thought
well,
the villages, yeah.
yeah. Let's go to the village. Let's go to the villages. Let's go to the villages. Yeah, right.
That's a
Um,
popular place.
oh, it's a
Nationwide,
very
everybody
popular
goes by the
Yeah.
place.
villages. Yeah.
It's a very popular place.
Yeah.
But the funny part about the villages too is kind of to that point. There's different villages
Yes.
in the villages.
Right.
Yep.
So if you get in the wrong, like there's villages where the residents of that village have decided this is a baseball village.
Yeah.
Like we worship baseball.
Yeah.
And like if that baseball ain't your thing, you ain't gonna fit.
Right.
So yeah, do your research, figure it out, travel around. Don't just throw a
Yep.
dart.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
because Florida ain't the rest of the United States.
No.
Nope.
Sorry. It just isn't.
Yeah, nary is. All right, you guys ready for some fun?
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Would you rather deal with a seller who always follows you around during showings or a buyer who brings 10 family members to every showing?
Oh my
Is
goodness.
there a
Both
is there
are
a
torturous,
no thank? Is there
but-
like a third option?
No.
Are we allowed to drink before we answer?
Okay. I'll go with the seller because at least I'm not dealing with 10 people
Okay.
and 10 opinions.
Uh-huh.
Steve?
Oh, geez. I've dealt with both many times.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the buyer because sometimes, especially with some of your ethnic groups, they have to have the whole family together
Okay.
because it's a fun
To
time.
make a decision. Yeah, I get
But
you.
if I can explain to them, look, we need to stay together because of
Mhm.
security reasons, and that's what the seller wants. For the most part, they'll stay together as long as we can keep the kids from going into cabinets and
Yeah.
drawers and all of that. But I think the buyer, especially with an ethnic group where it's understood that
Okay.
it's a family affair.
Okay. All right. Would you rather have to negotiate with the world's toughest lawyer or the seller's nosy neighbor?
Toughest
Hmm.
lawyer. Toughest lawyer because he at least understands contract doctrine.
We're gonna have a little contrast in this segment.
Okay, go for it. Look, that's
Yeah,
fine.
I would say the nosy neighbor because
Okay.
if you listen to what they're saying, they're going to tell you what you need to say without words.
That's a fair
Oh,
point.
good
Fair
Yes,
point.
point.
and-
I just
and-
look at it. I just look at it as the lawyer at least understands
Yes.
what the contract says, and I don't have to hear 17 stories about my uncle's brother's
Yes.
kids, family
Yeah.
that did this, and one time they allowed this in Pennsylvania, and okay,
Yeah.
we're not in Pennsylvania, so
I know, but the neighbor
Yeah,
doesn't care
okay.
about the contract.
All right.
They care about the emotional aspect of the transaction.
Yeah.
They want to be praised. They want to be heard, and they want to feel as though they're in authority on that particular property. So you praise them, you let them do it.
okay.
Okay. I think I already know the answer to this one. Would you rather deal with seasonal snowbird traffic forever or hurricane prep every single month?
I'm gonna go with hurricane prep every single month.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I would have thought it would have been snowbird traffic.
No, my house is prepped once.
Oh, okay.
Like I don't do prep. Like my house is prepped.
Okay.
I'm one of these creatures that I don't fail at anything more than one time the same way. So
Gotcha.
like the one year I needed a generator and I didn't have one, I'm like, I'm buying a generator. Then it became, okay, I ran 17 extension cords to get all the stuff in the house powered. I'm putting a freaking plug on the side of my house. So
Okay.
yeah, my house is always
We are
hard.
kind of experts now, I would say. I think we've kind of been, groomed for what works and what doesn't. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for sure. Steve, what about you?
Well, the seasonal traffic is, and I've got to take the opposite angle because
Mhm.
we got to give it some attention, right, Shad?
Sure.
The seasonal traffic, we know the time frames and we know what to expect. And we know, all right, everybody's going to be heading north, probably, the first week of April because they want to be home for Easter.
Mhm.
Everybody's going to be headed south, probably, after Thanksgiving. So we can expect those traffic patterns every year consistently,
Yeah,
and
but
you
they
know when to
ruined my
go, when not to
Christmas,
go.
Steve. They ruined my freaking Christmas.
Yeah, well, so we got the Grinch here, Becky. What can I say?
No, I'm
No,
I'm with
just
Shad. I got 8 Christmas trees in my house, so
yeah,
Eight.
stop ruining my Christmas.
I'm trying to
get
get my
out
wife to
there.
cut down on some of the Christmas decorations, but she does a
Oh
great
no.
job. But
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no. That's my big thing is I look at it and say, well, hurricane season, I'm going to need to prep. If I prep once, it's not like water doesn't go bad and all
Right,
that
that's
stuff.
true.
So,
Yeah, good point.
yeah, you're kind of, but I get it. I
that's
get it.
easy. Hurricane prep is easy. I took the tougher route, Shad.
Okay,
Yeah,
understood.
and honestly, like I said, we're kind of pros now, so we know what
Yeah,
to do, and it's like,
Yeah,
we don't, it doesn't scare us.
yeah.
We're
yeah,
just more scared about being without electricity and AC for a week than we are the actual hurricane itself, I think, right?
correct. Right.
I'm more scared
And
when my wife watches the Weather Channel all day, and, and,
well,
and I come
yeah.
home and she's like, freaking out.
Oh, dude, look, shout out to Dennis Phillips. That's who I watch. Okay, he's got lots of rules, and number 7 is you don't freak out until Dennis Phillips freaks out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's the one that predicted the curve of Charlie that went into Punta Gorda.
Hmm.
And he's like, don't, because it was coming up the mouth of Tampa Bay forever.
Hmm.
And he's
Yeah.
like, don't freak out. It's going into, it's wobbling. I'm telling you, it's going to right hook. And he was warning Punta Gorda.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And nobody was like, no, it's going right into Tampa Bay. This is our storm. And whoop, duck hooked.
Yeah.
And,
Bad.
it was bad. So, yeah, I don't freak out unless Dennis Phillips freaks out. And here's the thing, like you said, Becky, to give you kind of some contrast, we've done this enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dennis Phillips has like 3 of those 12-foot skeletons in his yard, and like
Hmm.
he's a huge like holiday nut. Okay. When Dennis comes on the TV and says, well, this weekend we're putting up the skeletons, I'm like, nothing's happening for at least several weeks because he's putting up the
That's
skeletons.
a good sign.
Yeah, and then
Good
when
sign.
he goes, well, at the end of this, as soon as Thanksgiving or as soon as Halloween's over, we're decorating for Christmas because he raises money for Children's Miracle Network. He does one of
Okay.
those big things where people walk by his house and donate, and his
Hmm.
whole house is lit. He's like, as soon as Halloween's over, we're putting up the Christmas decorations. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. I decorate fall, not so much into Halloween, but Christmas, it's game on.
Well, I decorate the outside of the house as Halloween, and the inside is Christmas because of the Nightmare Before Christmas movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like it. All
So-
right, so this is a funny one. So as we know, there's a lot of unique situations and stories that we have, I'm sure we all have had over our years in real estate. So this one's kind of silly and you'll probably laugh because it could be totally realistic. Would you rather sell a home with a pet alligator named Fluffy or a parrot that repeats your client's secrets?
Ooh.
All right, Steve, I'm gonna let you go first this time. See if maybe we agree.
I kind of like the parrot idea. I like secrets.
Oh, see, I'm gonna go alligator. I'm gonna go complete alligator because, I mean, let's be honest. That parrot starts throwing secrets out. I have had houses that haven't sold, not because there was anything wrong with the house. It was just because of, something that I don't like the energy in here. I don't like. Yeah, I think that parrot could screw me. I think he would go in the backyard for sure at any showings.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, his cage door might get left open. Like, go. Like the alligator I can coop up. And you
Well,
feed the
you
alligator a chicken,
well
he ain't
you
gonna
you
I'll
bother
heard
try
about
for
nobody.
a minute.
you heard about the parrot that kept swearing, and the owner kept saying, "Look, if you don't stop swearing, I'll throw you in the freezer."
Yeah.
And the parrot kept swearing, so he throws the parrot in the freezer, and then he comes back after a little while and lets the parrot out, and there was a frozen chicken in there, and the parrot said, "What did they get in trouble for?"
That's exactly right. Exactly right. But no, I would go with the alligator. The alligator I can handle. Alligator I can deal with. Parrot? No.
We've had an African gray in the past, and we know people who've had different types of parrots, and they can be fun. They can
Oh,
be fun.
Yeah.
they can be fun, but they can all. I mean, I think it's weird. Most of the time when you get a parrot like that, you have to like will it to somebody else because they live like 60, 80 years or some.
Well, I'll have to tell you folks a story, not online, of course. Maybe considered rated R, but it's about a parrot, and it's
Okay.
it's quite funny.
All right, we got one more before we wrap it up. So this one's
Okay.
kind of a fun one, the grand finale. Would you rather have to always sing your listing presentations or rap your negotiation calls?
Jeez.
I'm gonna go rap. I can't carry a tune for nothing.
I'm
Okay.
a per
If I sing, it sounds
How fun would that be,
like a
though, to
cat
like,
going through a chipper shredder. Like I
yeah.
can rap, like rapping is just rhyming. I can do that and
Can
talk.
you give
So
us a little, can you give us a
no, no,
little
no, no, no,
piece?
no, 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 no white boy slim on the side of no, we're not doing any of that stuff. Not even close.
Wow. Well, I'm a percussionist and a drummer because I don't like to sing. I don't like the sound of my voice, and I can't sing. So singing's out. Rapping, I don't know a whole lot about rapping. I know some songs. I mean, I hear it, but
Well,
I'd
hang
have to
on,
go with
Steve.
rapping, but I'd have to learn how to do it.
No, you should go with singing because
Listen, I can't carry a
you
tune in a bucket, but doesn't mean I
you
don't do
would get
it.
on the drums, and
Yeah.
if you bang the drums loud enough, nobody's going to hear you
Well,
sing
yeah,
anyway.
that's a good idea. Yeah,
Yeah,
I could turn on up the amplifier. So
That's right.
cool. Awesome. Well, this was a lot of fun. We thank you all for joining us today. We certainly enjoyed this segment and sharing a lot of information with you. We hope that you'll like and follow our YouTube page. This is Brokers Uncensored. And if you have any topics or information that you would like, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be seeing you soon. Have a good one.
thank you.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye now.